while we're on the topic of the media and it's, rush to judgment, it takes me to GMA. That's the one interview you gave before now. You went on, you spoke with Michael Strahan. We've teed up a little bit of the interview, and then at the back half of the soundbite, we have them talking about it on set without you. So let's watch that, and then we'll talk about it.
Are you racist?
No. Let's address the fact that just because you're black, you're a threat. It's not the case. I'm not scared of you.
Well, that's how black men feel. That's how black women feel.
But does that make it real? You look at a George Floyd. What happened to him is tragic. It was horrible. Everybody looked at that and said, wrong, bad, disgusting. And what happens? They end up getting locked up. In my opinion, George Floyd was not a model citizen.
It's very hard for me to sit here. George Floyd died of an open overdose. He died because someone was kneeling on his neck for minutes.
And I agree with that.
In regards of him being a model citizen or not, he didn't deserve that. No one deserved that.
Nobody said he did.
So
I just demonized it. I said it's horrible.
And I asked him about the leaked email that he sent out to his fellow officers where he used the term to describe protesters, he used the term peaceful protesters when he also called them thugs. It's frustrating at times to hear some of the things that were said. And there's a lot more.
There's so many discrepancies. There's so many discrepancies. And again, he called protesters thugs.
And he said, he air quote peaceful, and that was the question: how are they peaceful but yet thugs?
And then what he said about George Floyd as well
was way, in my opinion, left field. Had nothing to do with this. Trying to bring the character of someone into the situation where they were basically killed made no sense to me.
And at the end of the day, an innocent black woman is dead.
Yes, unnecessarily.
Why doesn't Robin Roberts go clean up the mess she made with Jussie Smollett before she starts lecturing someone on how to respond to questions? I mean, the nerve of these people who know absolutely nothing about law enforcement, nothing, to sit there in judgment of you. Why doesn't George Stephanopoulos go explain to us why he was the one creating war rooms to attack Bill Clinton's sexual harassment and assault victims before he passes judgment on you and the way you communicated the unmitigated gall? They know nothing about law enforcement, nothing about the law, and yet they sit on that set as pundits, judging a guest after he did them the courtesy of giving them an exclusive interview. To me, as a member of the media, John, it's infuriating. That infuriates me. What did you feel after you saw them do that to you?
I was ticked off. I was mad because we talked for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, something like that, nonstop, no break, anything. And there was a lot of good conversation. There are a lot of things that could have been positive for police and public relations. And they chose to leave all that out and take things. Number one, they didn't play them in the correct order. They spun it around, they edited. And, the fact that when I look at him and say, so just because you feel something doesn't make it a fact. He's like, well, it's real to me. And I said, doesn't matter if it's real to you. If it's not reality, it doesn't matter what you feel. And so we went back and forth on a lot of things. And for him to sit there and when we're done, shake my hand and say, I think you're a good person, and then go on TV and say that stuff. Now, I understand he was probably scared to lose his job. As a black man, if he goes on there and goes, well, I kind of understand where he was coming from. He did get shot and he was trying to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go there to kill Breonna, but, he just didn't say that, couldn't say it, wasn't brave enough to say it. I don't know the words for
it. Also, your email to your fellow officers taken out of context, in which you're saying to your fellow cops, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you that, and you're right, you do not deserve to be in this position, the position that allows thugs to get in your face and yell, curse, and degrade you, throw bricks, bottles, and urine on you, and expect you to do nothing. It goes against everything we were taught in the academy. The position that if you make a mistake, you do not deserve to be in this position. It goes on from there. That's what you were trying to say. They make it sound like you had absolutely no tolerance for any sort of peaceful protest, like actual peaceful protest. You're clearly talking about violent protests attacking cops.
Right. And then at the very end, I even go on to say, do not make the mistake of letting them bait you into something, basically. Don't fall for it. Be professional. Don't lose your job over these idiots. And again, all that gets overlooked or taken out of context.
To me, it's so maddening because they're part of the problem. They're part of the reason we're having escalating murder rates in our major cities right now, because they help demoralize the cops. They help the cops, convince the cops to sit back, because what's going to happen to them? They're going to get the Mattingly treatment. They're going to get bashed by every corner, from the vice president to George Clooney to Oprah to the entire cast of GMA. Even if they reach out to them, even if they get shot in a life-threatening injury, none of it matters. They will be bashed.
Right. Yeah. It's a bad catch-22 to be in, because you do sign up this job to help people. You do. And because who else is going to take the ridicule and the situations you're put in for not great pay? It's not horrible pay, but it's not great. You're not going to get rich off of it. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm willing to do all that, and then nobody has my back, or when I do what you trained me to do, and then you're going to prosecute me for it, who wants that?
You were doxxed by BLM that put out your home address. All of the cops involved, their home contact information. I mentioned you received death threats. At one point, you received information that there had been a, quote, credible threat per an informant, they'd been told, on your life, that even a $50,000 reward had been placed for your harm or death. And that there was an FBI investigation opened up into some motorcycle groups, possibly, that may have been behind that. One motorcycle group involved, what I read from your book is that Breonna Taylor's mother was a member of it, and her boyfriend, I guess, was the head of it. What happened with that FBI investigation?
Well, after 10, 11 days from the best date range we can get from them, that investigation was dropped. The word in the office was the optics look bad going after, the victim of a national victim's mother. And I had FBI clearance at this point. I had worked with the FBI. Some of my guys were on the task force with the FBI. So I know how they work. I know that what it takes to get a case open. I know that once a case is open, they don't like shutting them because it's hard to regenerate that number to get the case back open. So it's not like a local thing where you can just pull a number and you open a case and then you can close it out. Then if you need to reopen it, do it. They've got to go through a huge chain of command up through DC. So when I found out that this case was closed after 10, 11 days, I was just mind blown. I knew at that point they had no intentions of following up on these threats, even though one of them came from a federal informant and the other came from one of our local informants, two separate informants with the same information that they were able to corroborate. And then due to the optics or the political pressure, they just said, you know what, we're not going to touch this. It's too much for us.
I know you write in the book that there's this woman, Amy Hess, you thought she was a liberal and she may have pressured the feds to drop it. She did. We reached out to her. She said, quote, after being briefed on the alleged murder for hire plot in the summer of 2020, recognizing the potential conflict of interest for the LMPD, the Louisville Police Department, I recommended the FBI or another law enforcement agency look into the matter and assess the credibility of the info. I have absolutely no doubt that the resulting investigation, which did not substantiate the allegations, was conducted objectively, thoroughly, and independently. So that was how she sees it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.